All right. Show David Bakhtiari because he does such a good job for a different reason. Box that unorthodox stance, set and everything. Bakhtiari's figured this thing out. This idea that I just need to get to my real estate spot faster than the other guy. And so Bakhtiari's got two things going for him. He might be the best in the business at releasing from his stance right as the ball's moving. So he gets back before the defensive end, the outside linebacker, before that guy's even really ready to rush. Bakhtiari's already created space. He creates space in his stance. He creates space in his initial kick. And then he just settles down, and he's really, really good with both hands. Inside hands win all the time for Bakhtiari. So that's what makes him a special player. He's just gotten – so those are really, really basic things. I want to emphasize that. This is really basic stuff. Put yourself in a stance to win. Get off the ball. Get away from that player as fast as you can, all right, and then win with your inside hands. So you see already if the ball right now is on – it looks like if we just said the first white line on the top of the field we saw was the 10, he's on like the 7, the ball's on the 17, and back's back foot is on the 19, right? So he's got 2 yards back because now for every time you move your foot back, your hip goes back. So your center of gravity, your mass is further back. So if I'm standing with my feet on the 18, on both feet are on the 18, my hips are on the 18. If one of my feet is back behind the 19 and a half, well, now my hips are back 18 and a half, 19-yard line. So I'm actually back further than is maybe perceived because of the line of scrimmage. So I've already created space in my stance as long as I can use that and still explode out of my stance off that inside foot. So we look at Bakhtiari, just does an amazing job of just getting off the ball right here. Out. And so he's already created this ridiculous separation. He's already in a position because I think, he knows, he obviously is a master of, is it a 3-step, is it a hitch, is it a 5, is it a 7, etc. He already knows where the quarterback's going to set up. He's already right. The line between Aaron Rodgers and the defensive end goes right through his back. So in other words, if you want to get to Rodgers already, because he's already created that separation, if you want to get to him, you got to go right through me. Otherwise, if you go upfield right now, please do. Please go upfield and run by. If you want to bull rush me, I got inside hands because I'm sitting here waiting on you. I've got great body position. He just sits and settles. Inside hand, takes a bull. Guy gets rid of the ball. Look at the get off here, though. The hand of the center is just moving now. He's already back. Nobody's out of their stance. No defensive player, no offensive player. Nobody has moved. And he's already going to be ahead of the game against Brandon Graham. Again, if you look at Brandon's looking at this like, okay, whatever my plan was, he's already covered me up. So what do I have to do now? I'm already covered up. It's happening faster than I thought it was. Bakhtiari is one of those few tackles that he's actually getting to that spot so fast that the defensive end's always out of rhythm. The defensive end's job is to kind of disrupt the rhythm of the tackle here. But Bakhtiari is so fast out of his stance, he actually screws up the rhythm of the defensive end. So what does he have to do? Well, what are my options? I'm already covered up. I can't go upfield anymore. I got an inside mover or bull rush, which, by the way, he's really good at sitting on. So he's just got outside hands. He does a good job of extending. He can just hang on the bull. Look at a different player here. Just something to pick up. I was just watching this stuff. So left hand down. Okay. Not enough offensive linemen are looking at this. Not enough coaches are teaching this. Your linemen have to understand what foot is back for the defensive tackle, defensive end. For example, against Jon Runyan Jr. here, if that left hand is down and his left foot's down, what does that mean? That means that when he takes his first step, his left foot, that means his outside foot is going to hit the deck. And something's either going to happen there, or it's really for the guard. It's really not going to happen. Like, in other words, on his outside foot, if he doesn't come inside, he's going straight. Because when that inside foot hits, he can now immediately make a hard left on the screen, a hard right to him, and try to take that A-gap. It's going to happen like that because it's his first step. If it doesn't happen like that, then he's got to take another one. He's got to cycle through. He's got to go left foot, right foot, back to left foot before he goes back in or tries to start a bull at that point. So you got to understand this stuff. It matters even more at the defensive end position. You look at really good players. Look like Bosa, for example. You can kind of look at Bosa's stance and go, well, he's probably doing one of these two things. Now he's got stuff off of that, but his base moves out of right hand down, left hand down are pretty evident because he's got to do a move on the second or the third step now. We see this play, and if you don't recognize what's going on, you can get beat inside real fast. It's simple to get beat if you take that step flat, like Jon Runyan Jr. did here. If you take that flat step and you see that outside hand down, something's happening on the first step. That's the only reason you put your hand down that way. If you're going to run a TE, if you're going to run a chop club rip, anything else, these defensive linemen do all their stuff on timing, just like everybody else. So he's not going to mix up his putting that hand down if he doesn't have something different planned. The other thing that Packers have always done since I played there, they use spacing to create width. It cleans up the passing lanes. It cleans up the running lanes. And so what happens is a guy like Bakhtiari doesn't have to feel like he has to create this excess width to the pocket. So he can sit back fast and then he can kind of settle. He's kind of settles with his backside towards the quarterback. And he can do that because there's so much space. They've created space in their stance. So he's got right there from the ball to him is, 4.5 yards of space. He gets off fast. And now when they make initial contact, and again, if you see right before this contact, '94, good player. He's taking his two, and he's like, he's covered me up already. I have nowhere to go but inside. I have to go inside or I have to take a bull move because there's no way I'm getting over the top. And he's backed up, so the space between him, if he goes inside, Bakhtiari has time to react. It's all about getting to your real estate spot under control. This is why this guy's been so good for so long. Wins with that inside hand. Really masterful job of that inside hand. Different stance here. Now, I showed this, and he doesn't get beat. This is, somebody probably calls this a sack. This isn't he doesn't get beat here, but I want to demonstrate what happens in terms of the geometry of the pocket when you run at somebody. So this is a play action, under center play action pass, and he's been told, I got to go run and get sweat, number 94. The reason I have the rectangle is now you see where his feet are, and you see at the top, the kitty corner of the top left of the rectangle is where Aaron Rodgers is going to set up. That's where his feet are. So now Sweat can get the edge because you've attacked him. You can go outside, you can go inside. Now Bakhtiari's got great hands, and he's going to have a really hard time getting off him. But you just see, just from a real estate, a square footage, a square yardage space, that rectangle, that's a lot of space, man. So now you have to hold on to this guy, and he's got essentially, an entire hash mark to hash mark to get 7 yards of depth. That's a lot of space to play with. And again, this is the consequence of holding on to the ball. And he's not, I don't think anybody in their right mind is going to say he got beat here for a sack. Okay. But I'm telling you, it's never going to be as clean. You are going to be able to run the corner when you ask your guys to run and sell that play action pass. Everybody knows the consequences of this. My point of bringing this up is, if you're doing it here and you understand the consequences, why would you just teach your guys to short set in a situation where they don't even have that like full throttle under center defensive ends reading what's going on? Like when they're actually going to pass rush you, you're like, oh, I want to angle set, I want to short set. You're giving up the short corner every single play. You can do things right 8 out of 10 times, 85% of the time, 90% of the time. If you give up a sack a game, you're fired. If you get a sack a game, you're in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? So it's not a question of, well, 9 times out of 10, I beat him. 8 times out of 10, I beat him. But you got to do it right every time. And you can't do it right every time if you're trying to, this time I'm going to run at him. This time I'm going to short set. This time I'm going to. It doesn't work because we don't practice it enough.